So the question, Stephanie asked me if I can speak to orthorexia. How many of you have heard the word orthorexia before? Some of you, many of you have not heard this word before. So everyone's heard of anorexia, right? Anorexia. Orthorexia, it's related, but the idea is, they say that people who have orthorexia are people who are overly focused on their health. Overly focused on health, right? So we should be less focused on health, is what they're really saying. Like it's unhealthy to be focused on health. I would say, so first of all, and I think, to be fair, because that sounds absurd, like that it's overly focused, but I think what's true is that there are people who take anything, perhaps, to an extreme. And I don't mean to an extreme where they're making the best choices, but for instance, I remember, I don't know if it was a documentary or something on television some years back about this. And there was a guy who was super skinny, like unhealthy skinny, 6 feet tall, 120 pounds. And he wouldn't eat anything that wasn't absolutely perfect. Like he was really clear, like, first of all, it has to be organic. Okay, that's a great goal to shoot for, right? My last 15 years in the US, I ate 100% organic produce, except for durian, because I've never seen an organic durian in the US, and I wanted to eat it once a month. We'd have a little durian feast. But all the food we bought all the time was organic, and we could buy everything organic. It was no problem. So why not buy better quality stuff without pesticides and herbicides when you can? That only makes sense, right? But when I travel, and I've done several lecture tours in Serbia and Croatia and Slovenia, and there are countries where it's very difficult to find much of anything that's organic. Okay, in various places in Eastern Europe, for instance. And so when I'm there, this guy would probably not eat because there's nothing that's okay. I'm like, okay, I'm going to eat the highest quality food I can, right? And we've talked about that. So I think, it's fair to say that someone like that, just like anorexia is an emotional psychological disease. It has physical ramifications. If you believe that at 120 pounds, 6 feet tall, you're too fat, then you're going to make yourself very ill, right? And you might even die as a result, which happens all the time to people like this. Orthorexics have a similar problem, right? They have this extremely narrow idea about what's okay and what's not. When the fact is, if you live in the real world and you want to travel, sometimes you're going to have to make some minor compromises. Now, some of you are going to go, well, I'm going to make compromises all the time. Every day I'm going to eat some cooked food. That's okay too, right? It depends on what you want to create for yourself. I've traveled in the 29 years plus that I've been eating a raw vegan diet. I have been in some 60 countries, and I have never been to a place where I couldn't get fruit or salad. I've never been forced to eat cooked food. It's never happened once. There are times I've eaten cooked food, but I never had to. I made a choice. And in retrospect, a bad choice that made me feel worse every time. There's never been a single time where I couldn't get something that would have served me, okay? So it's never necessary to make that compromise. Now, there have been times where there was precious little, if any, organic food available. So what do? Well, I eat the things that I know are the least heavily sprayed. Right? I won't eat the strawberries or the apples or the grapes because those are very heavily sprayed. But I will eat the bananas and the avocados and the watermelons and the papayas and the pineapples because those have almost no spray whatsoever. So it's important to understand that. Okay? But the idea that people who choose to eat the one diet that our bodies are actually well adapted for, and if that sounds crazy to you, just keep in mind imagine saying to your dog, or your cat's an obligate carnivore, right? They have to eat animals to be healthy. And saying, well, you shouldn't worry about that. Just eat anything. It's okay. Don't be so focused on your health. Every species has a species-specific diet. If you want to be healthy and happy, because we've talked about feeling worse, like feeling physically worse, but how many of you have noticed that after eating all raw for a while, when you go and eat some cooked food, you don't feel as good emotionally? How many of you have noticed that? Raise your hand. That's what happens, okay? So, I mean, it's like these people are saying, no, you shouldn't be focused on doing what's best for you. That makes sense. Should you be anal about it? Of course not, right? There are times where maybe you need to, eat some stuff that's not 100% optimal. Okay, that's fine. Maybe that would be like saying, okay, I have to go to bed every night at 10 o'clock because I have to get up at 6, or, it's not okay. And that means I'm going to miss my sister's wedding, right? Okay, that's overly focused. That's being, anal about it, right? But saying, okay, look, I understand that getting enough sleep is important to my health, so I'm gonna create a lifestyle where I can get enough sleep every night, and then every once in a while there's going to be some social occasion which is more important than getting my night's sleep that night, right? I'm not going to miss the family occasion because I have to go to bed. Does that make sense? So, I think orthorexia is real. But it could be. You could say the same thing about anything. You could create a disease that focused on any one thing to an extreme, but it's not extreme to make excellent choices. It's an extreme to not live a balanced life. But a balanced life doesn't mean we're eating things that don't belong in our bodies that create disease. So there's absolutely nothing unhealthy about choosing to eat an optimal diet. The fact is that the vast majority of people want to believe anything which excuses them from making the best choices. You hear me? Most people don't want to change. And so if you can, if they hear, oh yeah, no, it's unhealthy to be so focused. It's better to be looser and have a little bit of this and a little bit of that. Better in what sense? How is that beneficial? Okay, are people who eat poorly more emotionally balanced? No. In fact, I'll share something with you. And I'd be interested in your perspective. It came up today. I remembered it today because I did a consultation with a young woman in Quebec who said to me, I've been smoking this year. I've never smoked before. I'm an athlete. She's actually, the Cirque du Soleil. She's in the Cirque du Soleil.
She's smoking?
Well, guess what? For the last 10 months, guess what she hasn't been doing? Working. She's been stuck in her apartment in Montreal. There's been no work. They're not performing. No one's allowed to go to the circus because they want to control you. But anyway, so she's been, she's a little depressed, and her boyfriend smokes, and so she starts, when he's smoking, she'll grab a cigarette. And now she's feeling serious physical damage from it. And she says, but I don't know. I'm not sure why I'm doing this. And I said, well, I'm not sure either, but I have some ideas. Tell me what you think. And I shared a story with her. About 10 years ago, I was at a friend's farm in Panama. He's an organic farmer. And I would go there to pick up lettuce and tomatoes and cucumbers and peppers and things that we needed at the center, 100% organic. And I was talking to a woman I know, another foreigner who lived there. She doesn't live there anymore. Some of you know Burt's Bees. She was one of the founders of the company. She had retired to Panama and then wound up leaving later on. But we're standing there talking, and a couple, she's a psychologist, a couple pulls up, and they get out of their car, and one of them is smoking a cigarette. And I say to this psychologist, I said, I can't believe people still smoke. With everything we know, how do people still smoke cigarettes? And she said, that person, I forget if it was the man or the woman, she said, that person wants to die. I said, you don't believe that, do you? And she said, yeah, at some level. At some level. Now, I started thinking about this, and I started thinking, why do we consciously make choices we know are bad for ourselves? In fact, let me rephrase this. Let me ask a question. If we loved ourselves completely, would we make choices, consistently make choices that we know are harmful to ourselves, if we truly loved ourselves?
No.
Why would we do that? I mean, I can see maybe we would do that if doing so protected our child, right? We would, if we had to do something to, like, let's say there isn't enough fruit to go around, so we give it to the children, and then we eat whatever we have to eat. Whatever. I can see that, but we're not going to consciously make poor choices that are going to be harmful to ourselves. If we love ourselves, why would we do that? Does that make sense to you? Okay. So I said it to this woman who's been smoking, and she said, "Oh, yeah, I get that. I get that." Okay. So, we want to be able to differentiate between what's truly healthy and what's unhealthy. It's never emotionally unhealthy to take care of yourself, to make good choices, okay? But, when you take anything to an extreme, I mean, let me give you a couple examples. Once we were in Panama, when Tanglewood was in Panama, the power went out. And so my students and I were in the kitchen playing cards by candlelight. But one wouldn't come in. He came in for a minute. He's like, "Oh, I'm not going to sit here." Now, this was a big room with very high ceilings, and the way we build here, things are like pretty drafty. It's not like we're in a big sealed environment, right? There are 3 windows at the end of the building. There's a door to the outside on the other side that's open. And he says, "I'm not going to sit here and breathe in smoke." Like, there's like one candle that's making a tiny amount of smoke, which is, hang on, this is an opportunity for us to hang out together. I mean, it'd be different if we're talking, let's sit in this smoky room together, right? And no one could even sense the presence of the smoke. There was so little of it, okay? Maybe that's an unhealthy obsession with having everything be perfect. Do you see what I mean?
Dogmatic.
Yeah, being dogmatic about it, exactly. I mean, the same guy heard me say years ago, the student of mine heard me say that when your body is really hydrated, you shouldn't need to drink much water. And so he stopped drinking water. Like, okay, what do animals do when they're thirsty? Find water, right? You want to live in your body, not in your head. Don't make decisions based on some idea. Listen to the body. Your body needs water, you drink water. Okay? Right? So, orthorexia, it's real. It is entirely possible to be overly obsessed with making the best possible choices. But wanting to make healthy choices, living your life in a way that's actually good for yourself, there's nothing wrong with that. Okay? But the fact is, a lot of people are happy to think of it that way because that excuses them from doing it. And that's what most people are looking to do, is excuse themselves from making the best choices possible. Hi, enjoying my videos? If you'd like to learn much more, check out the Academy for Vibrant Living, where our Vibrant Health course will teach you everything you need to know to take your health to an amazing new level. And if you'd like to turn your passion for health into a lucrative career, check out the Health Coaching course, where you can become a professional certified health coach and help as many people as possible see amazing results.